Hello and good morning, everyone. Only Positivity here. I have my coffee with me, ready to explore this new phase of life with you all. So over the past few years, I have gained a whole new perspective on life, and I've realized that life is too short to not be enjoying yourself while doing great things. So come along with me as I explore this new lens through fitness, photography, reading, traveling, cannabis, and much more. Looking forward to the journey, guys. And remember, only positivity. Hello and good morning, everyone. Only Positivity here. I have my coffee with me, ready to kick off podcast number 68 on this playlist that I'm looking to launch called Elevated Thoughts. Now, before diving into the book and everything like that for today, let's go ahead and start with a level set. Now, as I endeavor upon pursuing knowledge and life experience in this next phase of life through fitness, photography, cannabis, travel, photography, did I say that already? Many more things. One habit that I've really formed is reading. So this podcast essentially goes through some of the books I've been reading as of late, taking those lessons learned and applying them to experiences in my life. So before we dive into the book, the new book for today, let's go and start with a story. So this past weekend, I just got back from Seattle, and it's my second time going to Seattle, and I loved it. And I love Seattle. There was a little bit of a heat wave over there, which is perfect, right? And for anyone going to Seattle, I'd recommend you go in the last couple weeks of June. Seems to be the best time to go. I don't mind hot weather. We get that often here in Chicago, so I'm okay with it. And there's always a breeze coming through. Anywho, so we're walking around, we're doing our thing in Seattle, and they do have a homeless. It might be a problem, but there's a lot of homeless people in Seattle. Now, as you know, like some of them are a little bit more out there than the others, and as long as I'm not in danger, I'm totally fine with the interaction with a homeless person, right? No worries. So we're going to get some coffee this one day, and there's this homeless guy with his shirt off, full beard, long hair, just in front of the door, right? And I'm like, all right, we gotta get around this guy. So the reason I wasn't just like, excuse me, is because he was yelling aggressive things, and we could hear him from down the street. And as we got closer, I could make out what he was saying, right? And what he's saying is like he's yelling to someone across the street who's not there, right? He's not actually yelling at another person who's yelling back at him. He's just kind of yelling what it seems to me as a person across the street. So in any case, we start approaching the door, and he's like, I'm gonna burn your kids. I'm gonna eat your kids. I'm gonna fucking kill your family. And I'm just like, dude, like, why you gotta hit me with all this right now, man? I'm just trying to get me a freaking oat milk and lavender latte with a little sugar in it, dude. Fucking let me have my drink, dude. And he's just all up in my face, like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm just like, dude, like, relax. And he's not getting too super close to me, but it's just like slightly uncomfortable. And out of nowhere, right, I'm kind of gearing up for like an interaction with this guy, or maybe an altercation, or like, hey, please move, sir. And I'm just being silent. I'm hoping he does his thing. So he's just yelling, right, berating me, and then out of nowhere he just kind of like runs off. And I'm just like, all right, well, I hope he's okay. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him. And that always brings up to me, it's like, what are they on? Because I never get like that when I'm fucked up, right? When I'm drinking, or I'm consuming cannabis, or if I'm doing them both at the same time, I never get that weird. The worst thing that's ever happened to me is I just fallen asleep, I feel like, or maybe feel a little queasy, a little nauseous. But what do I know, right? Apparently, like, there's something out there that'll get you to that level, but I'm definitely not trying to fuck with it. So all good there. No judgment. Hope the dude's okay. Hope he finds his way, doesn't kill anyone's family. Like, all good. So in any case, we'll hop off that little jovial story I had for you guys this afternoon, and we'll go to the book for today, right? So a new book for today, right? We hop off our last book, which I believe were those Roberto Bolaño books, right? Oh, Roberto Bolaño book, which was great, right? Again, highly recommend it. 2666 Roberto Bolaño. So today we are going to start with Robin Sharma's The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Now, these types of books are interesting, but they're very useful, right? Like the Power of Now that Viktor Frankl wrote. The Four Agreements, The Alchemist, this book, they're a little cheesy in nature, right? But it's a great way to just lay out lessons in a very explicit manner and a very direct manner, right? There's not too much reading between the lines that you have to do, which is okay in some sense, right? When you're learning lessons, you want it to be apparent, in my opinion. So in any case, I'm going to go through this like chapter by chapter, maybe like part by part. And there's probably like 3 or 4 on this book particularly. But I highly encourage anyone to read it, especially those working corporate jobs, because this book directly applies. And if you have been in the corporate world a long time, you definitely know someone who is some form of the main character in this book. So we'll just go ahead and jump straight into it. So the first part of the book is called The Wake Up Call. Now, it starts with this dramatic scene of a guy who collapses right in the middle of a courtroom, right? He's this well-known lawyer. He's known for his fancy material items, right? He's got Ferraris, Italian suits, whatever, what have you, right? Just a bougie dude. His name is Julian, right? So the book does a great job of bringing it back to real life, right? Anyone who's in corporate America, we know like a big shot executive, a vice president, a chief officer, who is the prime example of what corporate life can do to your physical, but also your mental health, right? The author begins now after that to do a little backstory on Julian from the perspective of one of his mentees, right? So the mentee, I believe his name is John. He is the one who is narrating the entire story. So now, long story short, Julian is this corporate tycoon who is fully engaged in that upbeat corporate lifestyle of like a high demand lawyer, right? Now, Julian wasn't a terrible guy from what the book described, right? He was there for his friends and he was obsessed with his work. He would always justify things by saying it's for the good of the firm. Now, I know personally, right? I know a lot of people like this. People who will work late into the night, get up early, sacrifice time with family, all for the good of the firm. Now, I don't want to sound, like an idiot, or I don't want to sound ignorant, right? I know a lot of doctors who are like this, right? They love their job with this lust, with this youthfulness about them, right? They get up every day just thinking, eating, breathing, sleeping medicine, right? And that's different from like a corporate job like the one I work, right? Where you have people who want to work lengthy hours or be gunners, right? Just so they can get some recognition, so they can look good in front of someone. And that is a type of gunning. That is a type of work that I think is wrong, right? I think it's unhealthy. My previous boss would be sending emails 1, 2 a.m. She would crack open a bottle of wine and be like, "I want to send emails tonight," which is also kind of fucked up, because what if I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna smoke a joint and send a bunch of emails?" That would be looked upon so terribly, right? But on many of my calls, people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna crack open a bottle of wine and then maybe send some emails later." It's like, well, that doesn't even sound fun. But anyway, so we'll go back to the story here, right? For Julian, right, this lawyer who had a heart attack. Excuse me. So the work gets so fast and furious, and Julian keeps getting bigger and better cases, right? He admitted he could barely sleep for a few hours without feeling guilty about not working. Now, the interesting thing about that is at no point in time in your corporate career are you going to be done with your work, right? There's always going to be more. And the cool part of it is if you finish all your work on time, you do a great job, you get rewarded with more, right? So Julian here is being consumed by this image, by the lifestyle that being part of a big firm or being a successful lawyer brings. And like I said, my boss would tell me that she would wake up in the middle of the night, my previous boss, just thinking about something work related, right? And she would often ask me to log on after hours and things like that. And that's kind of where I draw the line. I'm definitely not doing that. In general, I think there's something wrong about that, right? But I also initially thought it was something that just came with an upper management role, right? You just have to do that now, right? You just got to be up all the time, always be reachable, things like that. But I realized you can just set some boundaries in that manner, and do good work. So anyway, Julian has everything he needs, right? Nice car, he's got a 7-figure salary, private home on an island, but you can tell there's still a gaping hole in his life. That's not enough for him. And this is a common theme about chasing money or stature, right? It's often never enough, right? It's tougher to relax, right? It's tougher to not busy yourself with the next social strata or the next income level. I'm not saying those aren't good things, but are you at peace? Those types of things I believe are tougher than getting money, if I'm being honest. So anyway, any case, the narrator, John, he gets close enough to Julian as his mentee to see how the job was affecting Julian's life, right? So Julian's marriage had failed. Julian no longer spoke with his father. What I'll say is, I'm just connecting the dots here, right? From my observation. So what I see is oftentimes, right, when you're a leader in a large firm, right, you generally don't roll your sleeves up anymore and do anything. It's a lot of delegation. It's a lot of strategy, which is very commendable, right? You have to do a lot of the nitty gritty to get there. But what I think that does is make it hard to be relatable in real life, right? Or when someone can be like domineering in real life, they might disengage, right? So for example, I know a lot of people who are, very important at work, right? But when they get into a social setting, where that is all taken off the table, right? You're not the vice president anymore. You're not the chief medical officer anymore. You're just people. And when they can't just talk about like their, things that inflate their ego, they disengage, right? When we're not talking about work specifically, they disengage because there's nothing else they do, right? And they feel like a little inadequate, and they're so used to hearing themselves talking and everyone just listening, right? That's just a thought of mine. That's just an assumption based on what I've seen. So, Julian, even though he had everything, he still hadn't found what he was looking for, right? You can tell there's something missing. Julian was in his 50s, but he looked like he was in his 70s. He was overweight, always complaining about his health. He had a wrinkled face. Personally, I've worked with folks just like this, right? Vice presidents, chief officers, who every time I see them, they look like they gained a few pounds, right? Because they're just not taking care of themselves. All they're doing is like just working. And it's, like I said, it could be easier to just justify, not taking care of your health because you need to work, right? It's harder to say, no, I'm not going to work now. I'm going to go get my workout in after a long day, right? Julian lost his sense of humor. He stopped laughing. And, in some of my previous jobs, I try to be this lighthearted, jovial guy, and I still am, but I was often met with resistance because I feel like there's a stigma where it's like, if you're not stressed all the time, it means you're not working hard enough, which is not right. You know what I mean? Mental health is a real thing, and a state of stress is not okay all the time, right? It's okay to be stressed now and then, but I feel like it should be like 80-20. You should be more relaxed or more calm than you are stressed, right? So anyway, Julian's out here living like he's an immortal, and finally his heart attack stopped him right in his tracks. Now, a lot of times, for people who don't know better or don't reflect, it takes these things, these monumental events like a heart attack or a blockage or whatever it might be, for them to just reflect, right? My own father was about 12-13 years ago now. He had a quadruple bypass, and he was eating like shit like his whole life, and finally it caught up to him. He didn't have a heart attack, but he had a quadruple bypass, and he's a changed man. He's youthful. He's 69 years old, and he is spry, moving around like he's 50. You know what I mean? So he totally changed his lifestyle, but it took something major like that to do it, right? Probably for me too, So in any case, the next chapter here is called The Mysterious Visitor. So one day, right after Julian's heart attack, there was a board meeting as to how they're going to proceed, right? A board member said that Julian's not going to be returning to the firm anymore, and Julian has struck out to simplify his life. He sold everything he had, and he went off the grid. Now, a man enters John's office, right? John is the narrator here. He was Julian's mentee. So this man enters the office many years later, right? 3-4 years later. And the guy's like this young guy. He's youthful. He's smiling. He looks like he's in his 30s. Turns out it's actually Julian, right? Now, the miraculous transformation of Julian. So as they begin to catch up after all this time, Julian says his heart attack was only one symptom of a deeper rooted issue. The constant pressure and the constant demand of his job crushed his spirit, his youthfulness, his exuberance. And a job can do that to you, man. You have to rein in your personality so much, or you have to hold your tongue, and you can't be yourself sometimes, and take verbal abuse. And after a long period, that will truly change a person. After 30 years, maybe 10, 15 years of taking that, you're going to be a blunted individual, right? Emotionally blunted. Excuse me. So Julian begins to tell John about his journey over the last 3 years or so. Julian says, hey, look, I traveled from village to village in India. What's up? Gaining perspective. He would see that, even people who had nothing would open their homes and their hearts to him. Now, this reminds me of an interesting story when I went to Barcelona, right? I went there to play some soccer, right? And we stayed in like a village. I was too young to really know the geography, and I didn't care, to be honest. I was just like, oh, I'm here. I didn't really even realize I was in a different country, right? I was like, oh, it looks like Chicago over here. I was an asshole. So, we stayed in this village though, and we stayed in it was weird because we stayed in like these huts, made of straw, and there was like dirt on the ground, and it was just like, I think it was part of the experience that our coaches had planned out for us, right? To humble us. Now, these people had nothing, right? They had pretty much nothing to their name. But they would cook. They would give us anything off their back, right? They were so hospitable, and that is something. That is the one thing I remember from that trip, right? And why is that? And it was because it was so authentic, just so heartwarming. But in any case, so coming back to Julian, right? So Julian goes along on his journey. He starts being creative again. He starts being curious again, right? And in life, personally, you start to your curiosity starts to dwindle because you're afraid to be wrong. You're afraid to look stupid, and things like that. Especially in the workplace, because you get reprimanded, or people are going to start thinking of you like you're dumb or something like that. But you can't be afraid to look stupid. Otherwise, how are you going to learn, right? And that's such a cheesy, cliche quote, but it's one of the most truest things I've ever heard. So in any case, Julian's like, I got more energy. I have more power. I feel peaceful. I feel happier, right? And again, I realized this early on in my corporate career, right? You go to work, you go to the gym, maybe if you're about that life. You come home, maybe you watch a little TV, and you go to sleep. You do it all over again for years and years and years. Now that's going to kill your curiosity, right? Because you're not going to want to do anything out of the norm. You're going to justify your life and things like that. But other than those things, right? What makes you you? What makes you an individual, right? Everyone does the schedule that I just laid out, right? And not that you have to be individualistic, but it's fun to be, right? It's fun to put a stamp on your own personality. So moving forward, Julian talks about the people he met, and he talks about his teachers who were willing to teach all they had known over the years and lifetimes of contemplation. And I hate to keep going on tangents here, man, but this knowledge sharing thing to me is amazing. For example, if I had some knowledge that I thought would be useful to someone else, I maybe wouldn't go out of my way to tell that person unless I really cared about them, thought they needed to know it. But I would not withhold information, right? If I really care about someone, I really care about making the world a better place, and something has worked for me, I'm not gonna withhold it. I'm not gonna hide anything, because that's just not how you care for other individuals, right? And I'm being very idealistic right now, but I see this a lot at work where there's people who want to hoard things because they think that's their value to the firm or something like that. But I'm always willing to teach someone, and a lot of my mentors are people who are willing to teach me. And I don't know everything. I'm willing to learn though. So in any case, Julian said it was easy to let go of his past life of chasing stature and material possessions, right? He realized that if he wanted a brighter future, he's got to give up some of his future promises, right? Oh, it's going to be good when I get this, or once I get this case, I'm going to stop, right? To live a brighter future, he has to give his best in the present. Now, all the books we've been going through, The Power of Now, Four Agreements, The Alchemist, even Roberto Bolaño's book, right? A lot of the books I'm reading are talking about the present, be here now. So in any case, Julian's life gets simpler once he lets go of his past, right? Dwelling on your past or your future is a recipe for disaster, So Julian stops chasing life and he starts enjoying the little things that life has to offer, right? He learned to accept that everything happens for a reason, right? And you have to fail in order to grow. And that's a key lesson in life. And I feel like the earlier you learn it, the better, Don't be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid to learn. I think understanding that everything happens for a reason is a great practice in tolerance, right? Letting the world do its thing. Knowing that you just live in this moment and you do your best in that moment and the world will somehow work itself out, right? Way easier to say than put into action, I will say that. But it's a fundamental principle, right? Just know that, hey, like I'm going to do my best and everything else is going to come together, right? It might not, but all I can do is my best. So Julian brings up this concept called Sivana, which means oasis of enlightenment. Now, in this location that he describes as Sivana, he was able to spend time with a group of monks who changed his perspective on life. Julian said he thought about hiring a guide to maybe get him up this mountain where the monks were. But again, he felt like it was a journey that he had to do by himself. And sometimes you want to struggle. Sometimes you want to be on your own and nobody can become enlightened for you, right? A lot of times when we face a tough obstacle, we seek a way out. We seek someone else to just take care of it for us. But me personally, I like the struggle, right? Because it's something I'm going to overcome, right? If it doesn't kill me, it's going to make me better. And that struggle, I'm going to learn about myself. I'm going to learn the potential I have. I'm going to dig deeper. So those type of things are contagious after a certain point, right? Now, to me, it's a symbol, right? To me, this is a symbol that like everybody has their own path to enlightenment. Everyone has to come to a realization on their own. I can't do it for somebody else and somebody else can't do it for me. That mental cleansing is going to happen when you go through that self-reflection and you realize your pros, your opportunities for improvement and things of that sort. So in any case, Julian says, the mountain air was fresh. It cleansed his soul. And another symbol of how important and therapeutic it is to be out in nature, right? All of my trips as of late have been nature oriented, getting out in nature, being one with nature, understanding, trying to understand your place in the world. When I go to Seattle or Oregon or, California, anywhere, even around here in the Chicagoland area, there's a lot of nice trails, where you can get a little isolated. And if I'm being honest, there's something about it. There's something euphoric about it. You start to reflect. You start to just. There was one time I was walking a week or two ago, and I was walking, and I did 8 or 9 miles. It took me a few hours, but I was almost in tears because I was just reflecting on, how lucky I am to be alive. How lucky I am to have the things that I have. I don't live a fancy life. I live a simple life. I try to at least, but I'm happy. I'm reflective. I'm with nature right now. Maybe not everyone has this opportunity that I have. So, I'm just reflecting and being grateful for things and trying not to be cynical in life, because I do have that tendency. Now, coming back to Julian is able to reflect on how he would trade his health and his energy for the diminishing rewards that a successful law practice brought him. Now, that is essence right there. That is truth. I think the most valuable asset a person has is their health, right? And their energy for life, because once you lose those things, I don't want to be insensitive, but it's like you might as well just like you just like end it, right? And I struggle saying that because it's insensitive, but it's like, dude, what the fuck are you living for if you have thrown away your health, right? I'm not saying a lot of people have afflictions, they have things that they can't control, but if you are choosing not to be healthy, and your energy is reflected, so like, come on now, man, like, shame on you, bro, get your act together. So in any case, the last part of the podcast today, is called A Magical Meeting with the Sages of Savannah. Now, finally, Julian reaches the top of this mountain and he sees this lush utopia, greenery everywhere, and he meets this sage. Now, the sage like takes him around, shows him the area, and no one really spoke. People respected silence and they performed their duties in silence. Now, that's another thing I have to learn, right? A lot of the guys I hang out with are okay with silence, right? I was, whatever it was, the way I was brought up, what have you, I felt like I always needed noise, right? I always needed talking. If you're not talking, you're mad at each other, what have you, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm working on just accepting silence, right? Don't need to fill empty space with just empty words, right? Just wait. Just listen, take in the silence. There's something that you can hear in that silence. There's something euphoric about the silence, and just understand it, right? Or try to understand it. There's a lot of times where I might be downtown looking out the skyline at night, and now I'm getting better with silence. I'll just stop and I'll stare at the skyline and think, let my mind wander. I'm not trying to think about anything specifically, but I'm just going to go ahead and let my mind do its thing. And once you start, it becomes addictive, right? When I go for walks for about 30 minutes or so, I can listen to music, but then I got to take off the headphones and just like be in nature, right? So what happens then is I start just thinking. I don't have a clear path of what I'm thinking, but things come to me, and I start getting really, really emotional, So again, respecting silence. So in Savannah, everyone seemed to be doing something productive, and everyone appeared to be happy. He said he was served fresh fruits and vegetables, and another key symbol here that a clean diet is key to a clear mind, right? So in any case, that's more of a work in progress for everyone, right? Tightening up your diet, because I'll tell you, like, I went on vacation the past 4 days. I was eating like shit, and I felt like shit, but it was fun. The vacation was great, but I was also looking forward to coming back and just being clean again, because you eat clean, your mind's clean, your body's clean, you feel great, right? You feel like you can do anything. So I'm looking at that. That's a kind of a high in itself, right? I'm chasing that feeling. So in any case, this sage takes Julian to the room where he's going to be staying, completely empty, except for his bed that had a journal pad and a pen on it. Now, I think here again, another great symbol of the power of journaling, the power of self-reflection. Now, I journal twice a week, right? I try to journal on Mondays at the start of the week after the weekend, and at the end of the week on Friday. So those are two good reflection points, right? I can reflect on the weekend and I can reflect on the work week. A lot of times I don't want to write, right? There's nothing coming to me. Like, what the fuck am I doing writing here? But I still write. I still put it down. And then I look back on it and I take something from it, right? They're not always going to be like bangers or insightful things. It's about forming the habit, right? Forming the habit of talking about yourself, right? And I know that sounds vain, but let me give you an example, right? So I have a few friends that are of the Christian faith, right? And what I'll find is that, and it's not just with Christians, with anyone in that religious realm. I'm just talking about a Christian interaction myself. So a lot of times we go on trips and things like that. We start to talk more openly about things we don't necessarily talk about when we're here just in a standard social function, right? So this one person tells me, they go, I was talking to, the priest during confession about this, and this, and how I want to live my life. And then they tell me the response, right? They tell me the response. Now, obviously, the priest is going to bring it back to religion and how maybe you should pray or, whatever, what have you, right? And that's cool. Good, right? All good. But, when you get used to just reflecting in that scenario, you're going to get one type of outcome, right? You're just going to get that religious resolution. But what if you talked about it more often with me, right? With your friends, with your family, and you were just unapologetic about it. Hey man, this is what I'm feeling, dude. And I'm just like, I'm going to articulate it. I'm going to explore it. So that's just some food for thought I was thinking, right? Like, I'm okay, and I'm getting better at just expressing how I feel and reflecting on myself. That way I improve as a person constantly. But I don't know if that resonates with everybody. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That's all I have for today, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. Feel free to leave me any feedback. And remember, only positivity. Thanks, guys.